DreAllDay.com.
You are now tuned in to the best of the best. This is the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve is yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. This is the go-getter energy that moves you to make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. We put all this together, and what comes out is the mindset, the method, the podcast, the book, known as Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day. Welcome to the show. Today's topic is how to do what you want to do and do what you need to do at the same time. I mean, not literally at the same time, but to get in your days and your weeks and your life, all the stuff that you want to be doing while at the same time doing the stuff that you need to be doing. I understand that this is a challenge for some people. I actually got a question. Someone sent me a direct message on Instagram the day before I'm actually recording this, and they asked this specific question. He said, well, it seems like, Dre, you get a lot done, that you're productive in the course of your day, but at the same time, you seem to do things that you want to do while you're doing the things that you need to do. I mean, you put out the content and all that, so obviously you're doing what you need to do, but at the same time, you seem to do the things that you want to do. How do you find that mix? How do you find that balance, as some people like to say? I'm not sure he used that exact word. I don't even like to use that word balance. I just like to get done whatever I want to get done at the same time what I need to get done. And that's a very good question. And I thought of it when I was asked the question. I realized, no, I never made a podcast episode on this subject. So I hadn't addressed it in full. I addressed it in brief to that gentleman in the DM. So the person who asked that question, I'm sure they're listening. Thank you for asking the question. I told that person that I would address it on the podcast. So here I am addressing it on the podcast. I'm happy to answer this question in full and in detail now. He says that it's fine. He finds it hard to address. This is the DM sender. Finds it hard to address his need to do's and want to do's at the same time. It seems like there's a solid mix of both that I have. And today I'm going to address exactly how that's done. Addressing the things that you want to do, at the same time addressing the things that you need to do. Point number one. First thing you must do, the most important thing you must do if you want to be able to do what you want and what you need both in your life is you got to ask yourself some good questions. Not bad questions, not average questions, not quote unquote common sense questions. You got to ask yourself some good questions. The best question that I ever asked myself in life was a question that I asked myself back in 2008. Here was the question. How can I take the things that I actually enjoy doing, that I love doing, such as playing basketball, being on the internet, making videos, blogging, writing about myself, about my points of view, about my experiences. How can I take those things? Because I enjoy doing all those things. I would do those things for free if I needed to do them for free. But how can I take those things and actually make money from them? How can I make a business out of doing those things? Now, listening to that today in 2019 or whenever you're listening to this episode, it may seem like a common sense question. You could say, well, look, Dre, you can build a brand. There are people out there who are full-time bloggers. You can self-publish books. You can make online courses. You can start a membership site. You can be a brand influencer. You can become a YouTuber. All those things seem very common sense as you're listening to this now. But understand, back in 2008, these were not common sense answers. Back in 2008, a lot of those phrases didn't exist. Influencer, brand influencer didn't exist. Being a full-time blogger for a living did not exist. Being a YouTuber did not exist. Selling online courses, for the most part, did not exist in the mind of the mainstream consumer. So these things were not common sense back then. They weren't sense at all. They weren't common and they weren't sense at all because they didn't exist. But that was the good question that I asked myself way back then, and I started laying the foundation for what I have now and that I'm still building to this day. So I asked this question. But I want to tell you that I wasn't just this clairvoyant genius who asked this question because I could see the future. I could see what was going to be happening 10, 15 years in the future. I asked this question specifically because the main thing that I wanted to be doing, which was playing basketball professionally, it was happening, but it wasn't happening as steadily as I wanted it to happen. It was too up and down, basically, my career, which led me to asking that really good question, which led to me building my brand and putting in place work on your game, incorporating everything that you know about now. So I started creating products, selling services, and it's all connected to the stuff that I talk about every day to this very day. So in this way, what I want to do and what I need to do blended together in many ways. Now, this is an important point. If your want to do's and your need to do's are completely opposite things, then following what I'm going to share with you in today's episode may be a challenge. So for example, if your want-to-dos are the things that you do when you're not at work, and your need-to-dos, i.e. your work, what you do full-time or running your business, whatever it may be, none of those are things that you want to do. You don't really enjoy your work. You just wait till you get off work so you can do the things you actually like. If that's the way that your life is set up at this point, it may be hard for you to follow these things, because I'm able to do the things that I want and the things that I need. I can blend them seamlessly because they're symbiotic. All right, the fact that I like to talk about basketball is symbiotic with the fact that I sell basketball training programs. All right, the fact that I like to talk about the mental game and how it applies to life is symbiotic with the point that I wrote a book on how the pro athlete mindset applies to business, sports, and life. The fact that I like to get in front of an audience of people, whether it be on this microphone or in front of actual physical people physically in the same room. The fact that I like doing that, and I would do it even if it wasn't connected to business, is symbiotic with the fact that I'm a keynote speaker and I have a podcast that comes out every day, and we got over 1,000 episodes of this show. So these are symbiotic. Things that I like to do and things that I need to do work together. Now, this took work. This took time. And again, as I said, I'm still working on it. It's not like I've just perfected my business and I'm like, if nothing changes here, I'm just perfect for the rest of life. I still work on it. I still work every single day. I mean, I'm recording right now, right? I'm still optimizing the things that I do, still learning, still changing, still making adjustments, because things in life change. So even when you think you have everything quote unquote perfect, things change and you need to change it again, because what was perfect last year is not going to be perfect this year. So figuring out how you can take your work and your leisure and make them symbiotic, meaning the things that you enjoy doing, you could actually make money from. You got to start asking yourself some good questions. That's why it's the number one point. What are the really good questions that you can start asking yourself? And I already supplied you the question. How can I take the things that I actually enjoy doing and make money from them? That's the question. Now, you may not have an answer that comes to you immediately. The answer did not come to me immediately when I asked myself this question, but I was willing to ask the question. And I was willing to entertain the thought that maybe, just maybe, there could be an answer out there. All right, these are the things that I need you to do. That's all I need you to commit to. All right, you don't even have to achieve anything. Let me tell you again what I'm asking you to commit to. Number one, ask the question, how can I take the things that I enjoy and the things that make me money and make them the same thing, make them blend together? How can I do that? That's the first thing you got to commit to, just asking the question. And the second thing is just having the belief that there could possibly be an answer that works for you. Just the belief. You don't have to find the answer. You don't have to get anybody to give you the answer. You don't have to read every book in the library to come up with the answer. Just ask the question with the expectation that there is an answer out there. That's all I need you to do. That's the baby step that I want you to take. Can you do that? Great. Because that's the first step in getting your needs and your wants all taken care of at the same time. Now, that does not mean, just to be clear, disclaimer, it doesn't mean that everything that you want to do and everything you need to do are going to be the exact same thing. There's some things that I need to do that I don't really want to do, but I get them done. And there are some things that I want to do that have nothing to do with the things that I need to do, but I still find time for them, at least when time permits. So, and we're going to get into that time permits part later on in this episode and in future episodes. But again, you understand the commitment that I asked you to make. Just two things. Ask the question and believe there's an answer. Point number two. Today's topic is how to do what you want to do and what you need to do in life, still under the limitation of 24 hours in a day. Point number two, you got to prioritize. This is the most important word that I use when anyone ever asks me about time management, making the most of their time, making the most of their life, because we know life is made up of time, right? And when you run out of time, you basically run out of life. Number one thing you got to do is prioritize. Sometimes student athletes will ask me about this, or just students, period. How do I, what is it they ask? Time management. How do I manage my time? Because I got class, I'm working, I play a sport, I still want to spend time with my friends and socialize. How do I make all of this work? The number one thing you must do is prioritize. What is the main thing? What's the most important thing that you're doing in your life? You got to answer that question. You can't prioritize till you know the answer to that question. After you get that answer, here's the next question. What's the second most important thing? After that, what's the third most important thing? And then go down, let's just say the top 5 most important things. You don't even need 5. You could even narrow this down to 3. What are the 3 most important things in your life right now? Of all the things you do, you play a sport, you got all your friends, you got the social life, you in class, you got a job also. What are the 3 most important things of all the things you got going on, all the things that you want to do, all the opportunities you see in front of you? What are the 3 most important things? And you don't have to be in school to answer this question. This is about prioritizing. When you have an answer, or when you have answers, plural, to those questions, now we can work on prioritizing. But first you got to know what's important. If you have no idea what's important, then I guarantee you other people have things that are important to them that they will put on your agenda if you don't have anything to put on your own agenda. So prioritizing, your wants and your needs need to support each other. Your needs provide the basics, right? Like food, clothing, and shelter. And the needs allow us to survive, while the wants, such as fun, connection, indulging in our hobbies, leisure activities, they help us feel alive. And for some of us who don't really like doing the needy things, the work things, if you hate your job, doing the wants allow you to endure the needs, right? And that's why in America we have happy hour. I don't know, do they have happy hour anywhere in the world outside of the United States? I mean, happy hour pretty much exists as we know it today. It exists for when people get off of work. It usually is more than an hour, because I'll go to a restaurant or some place that has food. I don't partake in happy hour as a drinker. I will partake and eat some of the food if they got some good stuff to eat. But it'll be from like 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. So happy hour is like 3 hours long. And what is it? It's basically the period when people get off of work and they get to be happy again. Just the fact that it's called happy hour. All right. So obviously it's something other than happy. That 9 to 5 is something other than happy. But from 5 to 8, you can be happy. All right. Or from Friday nights, you get to be happy. The weekend, people get really excited for the weekend because obviously what's going on Monday through Friday ain't too good. On Sunday afternoons and Sunday evenings, people start to feel bad because you know what awaits you on Monday morning. I'm saying all that to say sometimes we do our wants just so we can survive the needs. Now we can talk in the future episodes, and we definitely talk in detail in the game group membership about getting those hated needs out of there. There's some things that you do because you have to do, because you need to do them to pay your bills and to keep food, clothing, and shelter in your life, but you absolutely hate doing them. We're going to work on getting you out of that. It starts with the way that you think, then it moves on to the things that you actually do. And it starts with the way you think, then it moves on to the questions you ask yourself, then it moves to the answers you give yourself, then it moves to the actual structure of the activities that you partake in, the things that you actually do. And that's all covered in the game group, but we'll talk about that later today. Prioritizing is point number 2 here. The needs provide the basics. The wants help us feel alive, whether that's feel alive so we can endure the needs or just to feel alive because we just want to feel alive. I mean, that's the point of being alive, right? And having a life is doing things that make us feel good, doing things that we enjoy that give us more life, that make us happy that we're here, happy that we have relationships, etc. So we need both. All right, you need to do things that give you food, clothing, shelter, and you need to do things that make you feel happy and alive and enjoying life. So prioritize what matters in both categories. When it comes to your needs, what are the things that you do that actually are putting money in your pocket, that are actually paying your bills, that are actually helping your business grow and helping you grow in your profession and helping your career advance? What are the things that are actually doing that? Not the things that you think you have to do or the things that you've always been doing, but the things that are actually helping move things forward in those particular areas. And what you'll realize when you ask yourself this question, and you're going to notice that a lot of this topic, actually a lot of what we talk about all the time on this podcast, is not about you coming up with some magic trick or pulling a rabbit out of your hat when it comes to your actions. It's just about asking yourself some different questions, thinking a different way, and opening your mind to the possibility that there are some answers out there besides the ones that you've been giving yourself habitually and unconsciously your whole life that have gotten you to the point where you're at now, where there are some things that you're not too happy about, but you weren't sure they could possibly be changed. All that starts with you asking yourself some better questions. And I just happen to have written a book called Ask Yourself a Better Question. If you didn't know about that, go to dreallday.com/ask. That's ASK for my book, Ask Yourself a Better Question. It'll give you a list of questions that you can start asking yourself that you haven't been asking yourself often enough, that can change your whole outlook on life and is going to change the results of your life just because you start asking yourself some different questions. Understand, people, that the human brain is a very powerful tool, but it's only powerful in proportion to the kind of questions that you ask it. Whatever questions you give it, it is very powerful in coming up with answers. But if you ask yourself a bunch of shitty questions, you're going to get yourself a bunch of shitty answers. You're going to live a shitty life. So if any of you who's following that shitty life right now that you're living, it's probably because you're asking yourself some bad questions. All you got to do is change those questions and everything else is going to change automatically simply because you gave your brain a different job. Whatever job you give your brain, it will fulfill that task 100% and it will not make mistakes. Anyway, I got sidetracked there. Again, that book is called Ask Yourself a Better Question. If you have not read it, go to dreallday.com/books, BOOKS. You can see all of my books. It probably has some that you didn't even know about. Get that book, Ask Yourself a Better Question, so you can start asking yourself better questions. So what we're talking about here, we're still on point number 2. Prioritizing what matters and your needs, the things that put money in your pocket. Again, what are the things that are actually doing that? And your wants, the things that you actually enjoy. How many things are you doing around your wants that you think you have to do, but they're not the parts that you actually enjoy? Why do you keep doing them? Why are you spending time with people that you don't want to spend time with? Why are you doing activities that you don't really like doing? Why are you going places that you don't really like going? I remember I told somebody once that, I'll just tell y'all what happened. I was in a relationship, not the relationship I'm in now, but in the past, I was in a relationship, and the person I was with liked to go and visit their family all the time. Go to the family's house, and maybe stay there sometime, and we would just do things. They just like to spend time with their family, which I think a lot of you like to do. You like to spend time with your family, right? But I just didn't like spending time with her family. I just didn't enjoy it. And one time I told her, like, yo, I'm not going to your family's house anymore. And that's really what I said. I said, I'm not going anymore. I know it's your family. I know that since we're in a relationship, it doesn't make sense for your significant other to not want to spend time with the other person's family. Like, do you hate their family? I didn't hate their family. I just didn't like going because I didn't enjoy it. I like my non-work time to be spent doing the things that I wanted to do, and spending time with her family was not a thing that I wanted to do. And I told her, I'm not going to your family's house ever again. And the long story short of that is I never went to her family's house ever again because I ended that relationship. But it was me asking myself a better question. I'm telling you that to tell you, you got to be willing to ask yourself a better question and deal with the answers that you get. You may not be able to do something immediately with the answers that you get, but you got to be willing to ask yourself the question. I said, all right, I don't really like going to this family house, these family get-togethers and dinners and all this shit. I don't like doing this. So how can I stop doing this? Now, the immediate answer that most people get when in that type of situation, the exact one that I just gave, and I know that there's at least one person listening to this who's been in that same situation. Actually, somebody listening to this who's in it right now. All right, you don't really like dealing with your significant other's family, but you keep enduring it because you feel like you have to. So I decided that instead of giving myself that answer, the bad answer that I didn't like, which is I have to because I'm in a relationship, I said, fuck that. Let me just ask myself, if I don't want to do this anymore, what are my options? So my first option was let this person know so that I'm committing to the answer that I am not doing any more family. I'm not going to your family's house anymore. I committed to that. And once I said it, of course, there was a conversation. There was some conflict, obviously. And there were some hard feelings, obviously. I mean, again, if your significant other just came to you and said, look, I don't want to talk to your mom anymore, or I don't want to go to family dinners anymore, you'd be like, what the hell? How are we going to be in a relationship if you don't want to deal with my family? And I asked myself this better question, came up with a better answer for me, not a better answer for the other person, but a better answer for me. And that better answer led to, well, how is this even going to work if we're not going to be in the same, if you don't even want to deal with my family? How are we even going to be in a relationship if you don't want to deal with my family? And I love dealing with my family all the time. And you know what? That person was right to ask me that question in return. How is this even going to work? So I asked myself another good question. How is this even going to work? Since I don't want to deal with this person's family anymore, you know what? Here's a solution. How about we just end this relationship? And that's what led to it. I mean, that was one of the things that led to it. That's a whole different conversation that we're not going to cover on the Work On Your Game podcast. But I'm telling you all of that to tell you, you need to prioritize what's important to you. I was prioritizing what I wanted to do outside of my work time, outside of the time when I was in the gym or making videos or making new products or dealing with customers and clients. The things that I wanted to do had nothing to do with the things that what I was actually doing in that free time. So I had to prioritize that time. What's the most important thing to me? And you need to realize that the number one priority that you have in your life is not other people, it's not other people's feelings, it is you. And if you're not willing to prioritize yourself, as I said again, somebody will gladly use you to prioritize themselves. I'm gonna say that one more time. If you are not willing to prioritize yourself, there is someone out there who will gladly use you to prioritize themselves. For example, I already gave you one example, but for example, in the wants, I like going to the driving range. Any of you ever been to a driving range, or any golfers who listen to this? I'm not a golfer, but I like going to the driving range. I'm not even good at hitting the ball on the driving range, but I just like doing it. I'll waste $10, $20 and hit a bunch of golf balls that all roll on the ground. I can't even hit the ball in the air, like so that it actually flies through the air. I can't even do that. I've never taken any instruction. I don't know if I ever will. I just like going and spending an hour or two hitting those golf balls and they roll along the ground like a baseball ground ball. But anyway, I like doing that, but I need to go out and run outside or lift weights and meditate for 20 minutes. Do I need to run 10 miles every single time? No, I like to run 10 miles, but do I need to do that? Do I need to lift weights for an hour every time? No, but you can get more efficient at the things that you want to do. So you don't have to spend your whole day doing the things that you want because you need some time for the things that you need, right? So you can ask yourself, what are the most important things of my wants? Because look, there's a lot of things that we want to do. I mean, I want to go to, see the Eiffel Tower. I want to travel to every country in the world. I want to spend a whole day laying on the beach. I want to watch every video that's on YouTube. I mean, not really, but you understand what I'm saying. There are a lot of things that I want to do, but there's only so much time that we have. So what are the priorities for your wants? You need to prioritize, again, your needs and your wants so you know what's most important. So when you do have the time and the space to do the things that you want to do, you actually know what you're going to start with. Because you don't want to spend the whole time I was going to say delegation, that's the wrong word. You don't want to spend the whole time the word is escaping me, but you don't want to spend the whole time just trying to figure it out, right? What am I going to do now? Now that I have the time and the space and the resources to actually do what I want to do, what actually am I going to do? You need to know that by prioritizing up front. So then when somebody asks you, hey, do you want to do this thing? Since you know what your priorities are, you can easily say yes, or you can say no. Point number 3. Today's topic is how to do both what you need to do and what you want to do in life. The third point is process. And we talked a little bit about the process already here in point number 2. The process is, what are you doing and when are you doing it? How are you doing it? Are you doing things the same way every time? Could you teach or explain your process to somebody else? Do you even know what your process is? This is more about the need part. This is something that in one of the master classes in the business section of the game group membership, we talk about here, which is getting clear on what your work process is. So you know what are the tasks that you must do yourself and the tasks that could be offloaded to somebody else, could be trimmed down from where they presently stand, or it could be completely eliminated. Because if you don't know what those are, or you haven't really asked yourself a better question to even look at those things, you're going to find yourself doing a whole lot of things that have nothing to do with generating revenue to the bottom line of your business, but you're doing them all the time. Therefore, you're taking away time from the main thing, the golden goose that lays the golden eggs for your business. In other words, the money. And your business will never become as good as it could be because you're spending way too much of your resources doing things that have nothing to do with the bottom line of your business and doing things that other people could easily be doing if you would just offload those tasks, if you would ask yourself a better question and figure out what the tasks are that could be offloaded. So what is your process? Do you even know what your process is? What are you doing? When are you doing it? How are you doing it? Are you doing things the same way every time? And after answering those questions, could you teach or explain your process to someone else so they could do it, which frees you up to do more of the important things that you need to do. Your priority is going back to point number 3, and to free you up to do things that you actually want to do so that you don't have to spend so much time on your needs. You see how all these work together. And we go into detail again in the game group membership in the business section. There's a masterclass on getting clear on the number 1 most important role in your business and learning to slowly, starting with the way you think, offloading those tasks to somebody else. Do you even know what your process is? Okay, these are the questions that you need to be asking yourself. Point number 4. Today's topic is how to do the things that you need to do and do the things that you want to do in life. No wasted time. I know this is one of the things that I said to the gentleman who sent me the direct message that led to this topic. He asked me, how do you do the things you need to do and the things you want to do in life? Because he was having a challenge with it. One of the first things that I said in my response to him was that I don't waste time. I don't let time get away from me. Meaning, I like to wake up early at the same time every single day with no alarm clock. I like to go to bed at the same time every day. Sometimes I go to bed, it's still light outside. Okay, and that's a true story. And you can ask if you ever meet Anna, she'll tell you. Moving from one task to the next task seamlessly, because I'm big on process, discipline, routine. These are really important things to me, if you couldn't tell. You listen to this podcast every day. What's the first thing that I say when I introduce the show? The discipline of showing up day after day to do the work. That's the most important thing. It's the process, the routine, doing it over and over again. The person who had sent me the DM that led to this topic said, how do you create a schedule? He said, not a routine, but a schedule. And I told him a schedule and a routine are the same things. When you have a schedule and you stick to it, what does it become? Routine. All right, you have a schedule and you follow that same schedule every single time, or you follow this schedule every Wednesday, or you follow this schedule every weekday, or you follow the schedule every single day. Eventually it becomes routine and habit to the point that you don't even have to look at the schedule to know what's the next thing on the schedule, right? Do you even have one? Do you have a process? Do you have a routine? Where are you wasting time? I'm not even gonna say, are you wasting time? I'm gonna ask, where are you wasting time? Because I'm sure you are. You have a smartphone, you're wasting time. I don't allow myself to get lost in social media feeds, like your Instagram timeline, your Facebook timeline, the YouTube even has a feed now. I remember when YouTube didn't have a feed. They would just have a home page and it was possible to scroll to the bottom of it and it would stop. But now you can't scroll to the bottom of any feed. You can't scroll to the bottom on Facebook, right? There's no bottom on Instagram. There's no bottom on YouTube. There's even text message threads. There's no bottom in these things because they just keep going. WhatsApp, whatever you use to communicate with the outside world or just see what everybody else is doing, are you getting caught up in those feeds? How much time are you actually spending on those? Look at the screen time app or whatever counts the amount of time you spend on certain apps on your phone. Every phone has one now, right? I'm an iPhone user, but you Android users, I'm sure something like this exists. On iPhone, you have a screen time app. It's built into the core of the phone now. It tells you how much time you're spending on stuff. Go look at that report and tell me how much time you're spending on social media apps every single day. All right, there's your time right there. The time you don't have to do what you want to do, to build your business on the side, to do the things that you need to do. The time you claim you don't have, there it is on Facebook. There it is on Twitter. There it is on Instagram. There it is watching YouTube videos. It's there. The time does exist. It's not like you don't have it. People say they don't have time. Listen, everybody has time. We just waste it on bullshit. Don't waste time on the nonsense. So you're looking at who dissed who, what celebrities attacking another celebrity, what politicians are dissing each other on social media, trying to win the clapback game on Twitter, reading somebody else's mentions, you're watching some fight videos on World Star. All of this eats away at your time. Listen, I give myself, and I'm not going to say that I don't use these things at all. Listen, if you follow me on social media, I'm on it, I use it. I give myself 15 to 20 minutes for the nonsense, if at all. All right, most of the time I'm just getting on it for what I'm posting. I don't really give a damn what anybody else is posting. Listen, if I happen to be following you on social media, I don't read your updates. I don't look at your posts. So if I never liked any of your stuff, don't take it personal. I just don't pay attention to other people's shit. And at the end of the day, that's when I look at it. When I'm done doing the things that I need to do and the things that I want to do. Otherwise, I'm not spending any time at all on those things. And again, I'm just pointing that out because a lot of our time leaks out of us now. Because of these devices that we have in our pockets or in our hands, like 70% of you are holding your smartphone in your hand right now while you're listening to me talk. And 25% of you have that smartphone within arm's reach of where you physically are at this exact moment. And 5% of you have that device somewhere where you could not physically reach it right now without moving your legs. The other 95% of you is somewhere on your person or very close to your person right now. Those devices cause a lot of time to leak out of us on things that have nothing to do with our needs or our wants. But you say you don't have time to do the things you need to do, or you don't have the time also to do the things that you want to do. Yes, you do. They all in that smartphone. Ask your smartphone. Smartphone knows where that time is. It'll tell you. Look at that screen time app. It'll tell you. It'll give you some harsh truths that you may not want to face. So let's recap today's topic. It's how to do what you want to do and what you need to do. Again, thanks to the gentleman who asked me this question in Instagram DM. One of the few times somebody's asked me a question of a topic that I had not addressed before. So if you have one that you think I haven't addressed, go ahead and ask it. If I don't respond, I probably have addressed it already, or I may respond and just tell you, hey, it's on my podcast, as it probably is. But anyway, point number one, ask yourself some good questions. This is the most important thing that can change. This is the most important thing any of us can do to change our lives. That's a big statement right there, is to ask yourself better questions. When you change the questions you ask yourself, the answers change. And when the answers change, the actions change. And when the actions change, the results change. Right? Everybody understand that. I got a book called Ask Yourself a Better Question. If you have not read it, go to dreallday.com/ASK for Ask Yourself a Better Question. It's also available on audio book, digital, physical, whatever you like, we got it. The question is, how can I do the things I actually like doing and still make money from it? How can I do the things I like, make money from it? I asked this of myself, and that was the most important question I ever asked myself, was that question, because it led to everything that you are experiencing to this day. Point number 2, prioritize. Your wants and your needs need to support each other. So we know what the needs do. They provide food, clothing, shelter, and the wants allow us to feel alive. That's the purpose of being alive, is life, right? It's not to work, but it's for life. So we need both, but you need to prioritize both of them. So when you're looking at your needs and all these things you claim you need to do, what are actually producing the bottom line for these needs that you claim to have to do? And then looking at your wants. There may be a million things that you want to do, but if you could do anything right now, knowing that you have a limit of 24 hours in a day and a limit of being in one geographical location at a time, what would you do? You can't do them all at the same time. What are your priorities when it comes to your wants and your needs? You need to know the answer to that question. What is actually making you money? What is actually going to make you happy if you could do anything? Point number 3, process. What are you doing and when are you doing it? How are you doing it? Are you doing things the same way every time? Could you teach or explain your process, especially for things that you don't need to be doing yourself? Could you explain the process to somebody else so you can create some time for yourself? Because if you cannot do this, then you'll never have any more time. You will always be without time. You're going to work yourself to death. Basically is what a lot of people do. A lot of people are doing right now who don't know about this podcast. So help somebody else save a life and refer them to the Work on Your Game podcast. Point number 4, no wasted time. Do not allow time to get away from you. So do things the same way every time. Create routines in your life. The reason why you need to create routines in your life is not because I like to talk about discipline. You create routines because when you have a routine, you don't have to think about it. When you have a routine, you don't have to make decisions. When you have a routine, you easily slip right into doing the thing without having to think, without having to pause, without having to make a decision. And therefore, your time is not wasted, your energy is not wasted, your attention is not wasted, and your focus is not wasted. So now you will have more of all of those to focus on the main things that you actually want to do. That's the value of having a routine. And stop wasting time on nonsense. Look at the screen time app or whatever tells you how much time you're spending on each app on your phone, because I know you have one, and let it give you some harsh truths about your life. Now, what's going on in the game group? As I mentioned here, in the business section of the game group, we go into full detail on this exact topic right here. How to get clear on what you're doing in your business, whether that's you as a solopreneur, whether you got 5, 10, 20 people working for you. What are the most important things that your business does and the most important thing that you do in your business? And what are the things that you're doing that are not most important in your business, but you're doing them anyway, which is taking away time, effort, energy, and attention and money from what you should be doing. We focus on that in detail. You get clear on the things that need to be offloaded, trimmed down, or completely deleted. And then the next step is we get focused on what are the things that you can do to enhance the main thing. So the main thing becomes more the main thing and it produces more of the main thing. That main thing being money. That's all in the game group. Again, we had a forum in the game group, and the whole game group philosophy is about strategies that create actual results. It is not just more information. It's not just a whole bunch of content. There is a whole bunch of content, but that's not all it is. It's about strategy, which creates outcomes. So anything that you've heard on this podcast that you want to learn, how do I actually implement this? What's the next step in this? Or, hey, maybe you have implemented some things that you heard on this podcast, but you want to make sure you're doing them right. You have some specific questions for me. You want to get some detailed answers. All of that's covered in the game group. We cover 4 specific areas: is basketball skill, personal development, business development, and professional basketball for any of you who's trying to play a sport professionally or in the midst of doing so. That's all at dreallday.com/membership. That is the game group. This is the Work on Your Game podcast. Work on your game. Dre all day.